Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to No Limits. No, your ears aren't deceiving you. Candy is leading off the show tonight, as opposed to normally Motor Mouth. Scott, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Candy. Glad you're sitting in the big chair.
And I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's Motor City Mad Mouth, Scott.
That's all right. She's as smooth as silk.
So tonight we're changing things up a bit. And no, it's not Mother's Day, but our show tonight is a tribute to mothers. And mothers hold a dear place in most all of our hearts. And a mother's love is like none other. And so tonight we're going to talk about that and talk about what moms mean to us, what our moms meant to us, and what other people who acted like mothers or played a mother role to us made us feel. Let's start out with, what's the definition of a mom? What makes a mom, Scott?
Well, number one, if it weren't for a mom, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair talking to you. But yes,
True.
it takes two people to tangle, and she's one half the equation. So biologically, we're here.
And she probably carried you for probably around or approximately 9 months inside while you grew inside her. And then she had the task of having to deliver you. So I guess there's nothing like a mother's bond, and it starts from, I think, those first 9 months when you're in the mother's tomb. You listen, you hear their voice, you start to get to know them, and they go through a lot just to bring you into this world.
That's true, and I tell you what, my mother and father started early because I was hatched when she was 21 years old. My dad was like 22, so I got more time with the folks because I was numero uno.
So I know, but how many siblings do you have, Scott?
One younger one.
And how many years are there between you and your brother?
About 2.5.
So there was 2.5 years for you that you were the one and the only. You were probably a little, how should I say it, favored by all the grandparents and stuff like that because you had that little bit of extra time with them.
Yeah, I guess that did work out pretty good. Being first is a novelty in a lot of ways. You always like to be first. I definitely had another 2.5 years more than my younger sibling.
Nice, nice. And on my side, there's actually 5.5 years between me and my next youngest sibling, my sister.
So you're the only game in town for over 5 years, eh?
I was, and from what everybody tells me is I was spoiled during those 5 years because I was actually the first grandchild on both sides of the family. So, yeah, I was the best show in town, as they say.
Well, in my family, they definitely feel that you are the best show in town. You're idolized. If there's a God in this family, you are definitely it. Just saying.
Well, thank you. But let's go back to our moms, because that's the whole reason why we're going to talk tonight.
Okay.
I'm going to preface this show a little bit more, and I'm going to let everybody know that while my mother is no longer physically with us, she is an angel in heaven. Today is her birthday. So that kind of is what sparked me to have this show be a tribute to my mother. The other little bit of information that also sparked this is we lost my brother-in-law's mother yesterday. She fought a courageous fight against Alzheimer's, but eventually she lost that fight, and we are now left here mourning her. Jill, may you rest in peace. You are now an angel in heaven, looking down on all of us. So from there, we're going to take it in another little... We're going to go back. We're going to go back into your memory bank and my memory bank, Scott, and let's talk about some of our memories that we have. You know, mothers were with us for many, many years. In fact, your mom is still with us, although she is not well at this time. But she's definitely still with us, still calling us, still telling us what to do, telling us to lose weight, be healthier, all those good things. And we're thankful for that.
Yeah, I got to say something pretty interesting about my mother. Anytime she didn't want to go to a Detroit Red Wings game over at Olympia Stadium, I was the lucky beneficiary of a ticket that my father used to take me to Red Wing games. Took my brother too, but he took me to the Lions games over at Tiger Stadium and obviously hockey games. I went to the 1968 World Series over at Tiger Stadium when Earl Wilson was on the hill. So anytime my mother wanted to give up a ticket, I got it.
Your mom, she isn't that much into sports. She knew how much you were into sports, didn't she?
Yeah, she definitely knew that.
I bet you that's part of the reason why she gave up her ticket.
Well, perhaps. You'd have to ask her, but I wouldn't doubt that she probably did. And all I know is we had some great seats over at the old Olympia Stadium, and my father took my brother as well, but I definitely got it, and I have no regrets taking my mother's ticket for sure.
So, on that note, let's go back in our memory bank and let's think of some of our favorite memories with our moms. Scott, why don't you lead off?
I'll tell you, this one's definitely classic. I was in a home improvement business at a company called Home Window Company, and I've never seen something so unbelievable as I have. This woman had a lot of confidence in me and still does, and she closed down Home Window Company, turned the deadbolt, and told my father and my brother, my son is going to sell windows for you, and not only will he sell windows for you, he will be the best salesman you have. So a woman makes a scene in front of a bunch of people, takes her right hand, closes the door, my father stood there and took it like a man, and you know what? I ultimately became a window salesperson at my father and brother's company, and that to me was just unreal. I just love the confidence and determination that she had that I could do the job. A lot of people at the company viewed me as a journalist that was more of a low-key, subdued individual. My mother just said, you got the heart of a lion, and you're going to do it, and you're going to do it well. And lo and behold, I had a very productive time selling windows for the family business. And I owe it to my mother for exhibiting that confidence in me. And to this day, I've always let her know that I appreciate what you did. And I know that she enjoys hearing it when it does come up in conversation.
Nice memory. I would say I have so many memories of my mom. But one of the memories, or I should say one of the traditions that my mom started us with is that we always celebrated Christmas. And no matter what, on Christmas Eve, we would, now remind you, I lived up in Wisconsin. Christmas time, it's cold, it's normally snowy. We would always go to church. Then from church, we would drive around looking at all the Christmas lights the people had decorated. We'd have Christmas music playing. We'd come home, and Mom would always make sure that there were gifts around the tree, and we could always open one gift. The time that I remember goes back to when you and I were dating, and I think you had a birthday. Or was it Christmas, and we were celebrating it, and you opened a gift, and it was a Lions blanket.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I think you were shocked that my family, being heavy Green Bay Packer fans, that we would A, accept you as a Lions fan, but 2, we would support you in showing you that we realize your team spirit and who you loved. And she bought you your team's blanket and gave it to you as a gift. Well, the look on your face was like, oh my gosh, really? this woman did that for me.
Well, think about it this way too, though. I think when we talk about memories, and I have a lot of them of your mother, but since that Lions in the Green Bay thing is very appropriate, I want to take it down a couple levels, or up a couple levels, if I may. For your mom to be alive when you were the photographer for the Detroit Monitor, and obviously I was a writer with the NFC North, or as Chris Berman would say, North Division on the line, and to see you taking pictures at Lambeau Field was unquestionably one of the greatest moments. Think about it. Your mom sees you, or at least that when she watches that game, that my daughter, by the way, okay, who met this guy through Plenty of Fish, okay, and I went out there and sent you the old note. There's no reason why the Lions and the Packers couldn't be teammates, and you're on the field at Lambeau Field taking pictures. That to me is one of the greatest moments I've ever had with your mom in terms of you being there. Your mom witnessed you on the field at Lambeau Field taking pictures of the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. We've done a lot of good things together in sports, but I'll tell you what, no matter what we ever do, that to me will always be number one in my eyes.
Yep, that was a good, definitely good memory.
I guess if I needed a second one, it would be watching you take pictures at Camp Randall Field, and your mom was alive for that one, and your sister Maria and, of course, Dawn Luce, sister-in-law, bundled you up with warm clothes since you didn't have any. That was second, but the Lions and the Packers at Lambeau Field, it doesn't get any better than that.
And no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So let's shift focus a little bit. What's your favorite funny memory of you and your mom?
Oh, this is a tie for first, so let's not kid yourself. If you talk to my mother today, she will tell you that her sense of direction isn't that good, that I was her GPS. So, every time she went anywhere, I said, you better have my phone and call me if you get into trouble. I don't want nothing to happen to you because your sense of direction is outright horrible. And you know what? She took me up on it.
Good for her.
She did. And I warned her, she didn't want to argue with her oldest son because I learned a lot of things from her and gained a lot of tenacity from that woman. Another one was a very interesting thing over at the Secretary of State's in Michigan, where she tried to get me to help her pass a written test. She got caught doing it, and they told me to move to the back, and so she had to pass the written test on her own.
Did she do it?
Yeah, actually did, but she was embarrassed that she had to be told that's not right, and I had to move to the back. But let's face it, when it came to being a student in school, that wasn't one of her bigger traits. But then again, she was a hairdresser, so she specialized in another field. But I was told to move to a different part of the Secretary of State's. She had to pass a written test, and I was laughing at her once we go ahead and left the Secretary. But one thing about her, though, she can handle a good laugh on her, especially in an instance like that. And I guess another favorite memory, too, that I will say is I had a lot of operations, and she was with me for a lot of them. And whether she had to travel to Florida, Minnesota, wherever, she was with me in a lot of them. Some of them were tougher decisions. So she's our. I think those are I know you asked for one. I said, heck with it. I'll give you 3.
Well, hey, I'm not going to knock you. I mean, it's always good to reminisce and think of all the good times. I think, of course, again, I've got all kinds of memories. But one funny memory that I know sticks out, and it kind of covers a couple different topics. It's not just funny. It is one of my favorites, too. And I know you'll remember this very well, Scott. One of the things that everybody should know is that my mom was the communicator of the family. You told her, and, within, I would say, an hour or two, the rest of the whole family knew it. So there came a day when you decided to propose to me. We were out at the Everglades. You had proposed to me. I said yes. We went back into the car, and we decided to make a phone call. We called my mom. She was the first person that we told. And immediately the first words out of her mouth, besides congratulations, was, who can I tell? The first words, who can I tell? Can I, who? And I'm like, wait, Mom. No. We love you. We love that you like to tell people. But we'd like to tell the siblings first. And we'd like to be the ones that did that. Of course, she was like, okay, well, you know what? We're all getting together, so we can do that. Okay. Just tell me what time we should call, and we can call and then tell everybody there so they all knew at the same time. But then right after that, oh my goodness, she spread that news like wildfire.
Yeah, she made the Morse code look slow, didn't she?
She did. But she loved us and she was excited for us. And I'm so thankful because it was a month and 5 days later that she left us. So I have the peace, and she had the peace, knowing that we were going to get married. And at least I get to take that with me. Small piece of happiness,
Yeah, she didn't hesitate to send you any dishes either. She couldn't use that credit card fast enough to get you some dishes for us.
Well, what she did is she bought gifts for my grandma for everybody. And one of the traditions that my grandma had was that she bought a silverware set for each one of her grandkids for their wedding. So yes, my mom, before she passed away, ordered us our silverware set from my grandmother. So, let's skip to what's one of the best trips you've taken with your mom?
Oh, we went on lots of trips. We went to Hawaii. It was pretty fun. For our honeymoon, that was a pretty good trip. But I enjoyed the trips to Aruba and Mexico as well. But, so we went out a lot. We did a lot of stuff. So pretty hard to really label any of them. The ones in Mexico were fun in Acapulco with my dad, my brother, his wife, and a friend, the late Ronnie Grant. We had a lot of fun there. But we went to Aruba too, and of course Hawaii was fun. So we definitely had a little bit of mileage on there.
So on this one, I have to say that my dad was a school teacher, and my mom, she was a homemaker. So we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So we didn't go on a lot of trips growing up. I do remember we went to one big trip. We went out west. We went to the Badlands of South Dakota. We went to Mount Rushmore, Pikes Peak. I remember us walking around Pikes Peak. I do remember later on in my latter years here, my parents always went to Arizona. They had a timeshare in Arizona. And I remember going out there one year. And it was me and my sister and them. And we just had fun, just sitting, relaxing, talking. And my brother joined us because we actually have a picture of the three of us, and we didn't even plan this. We were all wearing jeans and white t-shirts, so we took a picture of us in the rocks, at Sedona.
Yeah, that's heaven on earth if you haven't been there before. Great place.
It is a great place. So let's move on a little bit to some of the lessons that your mom might have taught you.
Oh, this is the easiest thing I'll say all night. Determination, resilience. I've never seen a person more determined and resilient in a lot of ways. Number one, when she wanted to brand her hair brand with a Shyla thing, shaving hair is living art, I decided to use Scott Sports Can Offer Tough Tasks and Scott. She bought me a business card there with the whole thing. But I think one of the biggest things about what she did is she branded herself well, which enabled me to wanted to trademark the Motor City Mad Mouth. And I think that when I often think of what she's done to trademark what she's done, the Motor City Mad Mouth to me is a product of Shyla Morganroth. Without her giving the idea to brand herself, I wouldn't have done it. I knew the name was good. I know where I got the name for my original marriage, which was good. But then to be able to see her do it now I'm determined to use that name to enhance her legacy because she gave me what I consider a very good example how to do it. So that this is easy.
And I would say just a couple of the lessons that my mom taught me.
Well, I should preface by saying that with some of her medical issues right now, the resilience and the determination she's showing to extend things to me only enhances what she's doing. Sorry to interrupt you, but that just
No,
came to
I
mind.
agree. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay. You're good.
I would definitely second that. Your mom definitely has shown a resiliency and a wanting to live.
I think one of the things I used to joke around with her was when she thought she had a cancer scare before, I told her, God doesn't want you and the devil won't take you. She took that as an insult and said, Mom, let me rephrase what I just said. God doesn't want you and the devil won't take you means you get to live. You get it? Oh, I didn't know that. So that's a good problem to have. Don't worry about it. Just had to break it down a couple times. She handled it pretty well. That's a problem we should all have, by the way.
Exactly. I agree. I would say some of the lessons my mom taught me. Obviously, I've already said she was the communicator in the family. So I don't hold a candle to her how she did it, but I try to be a better communicator than I used to be. I would say her patience and her compassion and being compassionate for people. I would like to think that she taught me a lot about that. Her ability to, she tutored. And although my dad was the teacher in the family, my mom was the one that always helped us with homework. My dad worked a couple of different jobs, and he didn't help us with homework. He actually had me sometimes grading his papers and his kids' work. So I guess she was a teacher of sorts too.
Raised 4 great kids. She had to teach you something.
That's true.
The only thing she didn't do was let you go ahead and go to opening day and when the Brewers played at County Stadium. But then again,
My dad was a teacher. He couldn't.
Yeah, but you know.
He also worked for the Brewers and worked as an usher.
Hey, I'm glad you made your opening day thing happen with me anyways here in Miami when the Tigers played. So you got an opening day. Just not up in Milwaukee.
That's true. Okay. We all have favorite dishes that our mom cooked. You got to. I mean, right? Scott, what's some of yours?
Well, my mother learned it from her mother, Grandma Dorothy, but I credit Shiloh Morgan-Ruff this one all the way. Sweet and sour meatballs.
I know you like that. We haven't had it in a while, but you even had me get the recipe from your mom.
Yeah.
And I've made it before.
We're due pretty soon with sweet and sour meatballs.
We're due, huh?
Too much food here tonight, but now I'm getting the itch of sweet and sour meatballs.
That's okay. My mom made all kinds of great dishes, but one of the things she spoiled us with, a couple things. One of the things she spoiled us with was her homemade tacos. You know, going to Taco Bell is just not anywhere near her tacos. She'd make chicken and rice. She'd bake things. I mean, one of the things that I always remember is for your birthday, she'd ask what you wanted and what kind of cake / dessert did you want. And she would make whatever one you asked for.
Right.
You know, I don't know many people that do the whole meal and the dessert. She was just incredible that way.
Well, wait till I start to get the memories of your mom. I'll have a mouthful like I always do anyways. This is only appetizer what I've said so far with that one.
Okay, special activity that you did with your mom. Remember any, Scott, that you would do?
Yeah, I actually did. When she wasn't sure how to work the computer a little bit, I tried to give her a few computer lessons. I did. I tried to help her with her project a little bit, and she was a casual observer. So, you know, we did a lot of things, but just being able to help her occasionally with her project and trying to give her an idea. Because one thing she always did do is she always respected my writing ability. And when I had to go out there and edit some of her changes, she looked at it and said, you know, my son is a professional journalist. And if he's going to go out there and correct me, I definitely better keep my mouth shut, pay attention. And she did. she did, and I appreciate that kind of, I'm trying to help her out, and she saw that I had a strength in a given area, and so sitting her down, giving her a one-on-one behind the computer, and I know she was appreciative of that.
Ironically, one of my special activities that I did with my mom, I also happened to do with my grandmother. But one of the special activities that I would do with my mom is every year we would bake Christmas cookies. And when I say we, I have to put we, because it was not just me and my mom. It was me, my two sisters, my brother, and my mom. And my mom would get together the recipe books. We'd get the ingredients out. I would normally mix them. I had one sister that would roll out the dough. I would have another sister that I would actually mix it and roll out the dough and use the cookie cutters. And then my two sisters would decorate the cookies, all while my mom was supervising a lot of times at this point. And my brother, believe it or not, he was the baker. He was the one that put the cookies in, did the timing, cooked them perfectly. To this day, me and my sisters still have issues trying to make sure that we don't burn the cookies or anything like that because my brother did the baking. But that's one of the special activities that I would say we did together. Okay. So obviously we have some wonderful memories of our respective mothers. Let's talk about our grandmothers. Tell me a little bit about yours.
Grandma Sophie reminds me of Muhammad Ali, the greatest person of all time. Too many memories to count. So I wouldn't be able to ramble them all off. But I will tell you this about her, though. I always enjoyed spending the weekends with my Grandma Sophie and my step-grandfather, Sidney Jacobs. I would work at the Highland House, and then I would leave on a Saturday night and then spend Sundays with her. We used to go out to eat every Sunday morning and for dinner at night. That was really neat. We even did it with my great-grandparents at times. But I loved it when my grandma would go ahead and wait on me hand and feet in the den / my room while I'm watching football games.
That's where you get it from. Man, she laid the groundwork only for me to keep it up. She's a tough act to follow.
Not really. I mean, she definitely was original, and my Aunt Judy's a product of who she is, so at least you get to meet her through my grandmother. But I would go there and watch football every Sunday. She'd wait on me hand and feet. We'd go out to eat. Afterwards, we'd go to breakfast before. It was just unreal. And, I'm watching my footballs, and now here I am, covering games for many, many years on Sunday. But it was just too hard to not be able to say, you know what, once upon a time I was watching it like all these kids, and now I'm part of the covering fabric of this whole thing. It was just unreal. And what can I tell you? Football inside early on, and I think when she looks down on heaven, knowing that I'm heavily involved in football. I think another thing my grandma felt good about, and my mother for that matter, was when they knew I had some wonderful memories with Tom Lasorda and Ernie Harwell as well. So they knew that I had my hands in the Detroit sports media circuit, and I think that they realized that somebody within themselves could not just be part of the media, but be productive part of the media. Mm-hmm. But and I got to tell you a funny memory about my grandma Sophie, though. She once had to take a test, and she had to have this stuff called citrate magnesia, which doesn't do wonders for the stomach. Rather than wake my grandpa sit up, she would come there and spend the night with me in the den, and I didn't say, "You wake me up all day long, Ma. I really don't care." But she'd have to go back and forth to the bathroom in the middle of the night. We just laughed about it the whole night. It was just too surreal. But how many memories do we have? And another great one too was when she came to Florida with my Aunt Judy and Uncle Bob, and Hurricane Elena hit the Tampa Bay area and leveled St. Petersburg. I had to take Judy and my Uncle Bob and then my grandma Sophie and my grandpa Sid from Tampa International Airport all the way to St. Petersburg and get them to follow me on I-275. And you know how tough I-275 was back then. But we managed to get the job done. And when my Aunt Judy and Uncle Bob went back to Michigan, I spent time with them in a hotel right near USF. So those are some pretty good things, but way too many to count. I'm just glad that those kind of stood out. But my grandma Sophie, to me, she always wanted me to get student loans. I said, Ma, I don't want to get student loans. I paid my way through college, and she helped out where she could.
Mm-hmm.
And I was proud of that accomplishment, knowing that we had done a lot while she was alive. With my grandma Sophie, I got to tell you, I was really fortunate that I had that woman for 37 years. Nothing against my mother, okay? My mother and I have a wonderful relationship. But with all due respect, my grandma Sophie is another person that I also felt as a real mother to me. And those people that knew us together, they knew that we were inseparable.
Sounds like a great relationship.
Unreal.
Too bad I didn't get a chance to meet her.
Yeah, another thing that's interesting about her is she was a breast cancer survivor in the 1960s when advanced medicine was in existence. So you talk about a woman that persevered, surviving breast cancer in the 60s. She's unbelievable. What can I say? Grandma Sophie, if you're listening down on this broadcast, I love you very much. Miss you. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to catch up on my expiration date hits.
Nice memories, nice memories. So I'm going to shift it to mine for a little bit. So, my grandma on my dad's side lived about 15-20 minutes away, so we got to see them quite frequently. I'd spend nights over there. I remember as a young kid, I remember for some reason very vividly that I spent a New Year's Eve into a New Year's Day there. And we got out, if anybody's familiar with, it's called Royal Rummy, and it's a card game where you play poker in the beginning, and then you play your hands out, and you have a board where you have poker chips. And so you keep tabs with how many poker chips you have. I honestly can't tell you who won, but I remember we left the board as it was from one night into the other night. We also would do puzzles every once in a while over there. My other grandma on my mom's side was probably the one I was closer to. She lived longer, but she lived on a 110-acre farm up until the day she died. She managed that. It was a crop farm, and I remember going up there all the time. Most summers I would spend at least a week up there. In fact, even when I was an adult and I had vacation, I would spend normally a week up there. She always knew when there was a holiday, and I'm not talking your regular normal holidays that everybody knows, your Christmas, your Thanksgiving, although we'd always go up there on those days as well. But on those days on a calendar, like your Martin Luther, your President's Day, your Columbus Day, I'm still in the banking field, and some of them we used to get off. I used to get them all off. And she would know that I would have off, and she would request that I would come up there by myself, and the two of us would spend the day together doing whatever. I know near the end of her life, I would always go up there, and we'd bake Christmas cookies together, or candy. One of the lessons she taught me is how to make homemade jam and jelly.
Interesting.
In fact, so much so to the point that at one point we had this plan in my family that I would be the one that would make the jam and jelly. My uncle and another one of my family members would supply me with the fruit, and someone else would supply me with the other supplies. Someone would supply me with the jars. Someone would supply me with the money to ship the jars to the rest of the family, so we could all carry on the tradition of having homemade jam and jelly. I'll never forget those times. So Scott, are there other people?
Yeah, we've covered Grandma Sophie Morgenroth, Shyla Morgenroth. She knows where she stands with me. That goes without saying. I love her very dearly and always have, and I'm thankful to her that I'm on this planet. But three other people that stand out for me are Marion Weinberg. While she may not be blood related, she's related in many other ways. I always viewed her as a mother figure. One of the sweetest people in the world. When I had medical problems, she would always check up on me. She always wondered how I was doing in terms of my profession. And you just won't meet a sweeter person than Marion, who he lost in 2019. She was a really tiny woman physically, but she was very strong, tall in stature. And Jerry Weinberg, who's like a father figure to me. Marion is just an angel. That's all I can tell you. There aren't enough words. You had a chance to meet Marion. What were your impressions of her?
She was a very nice, thoughtful lady.
Yeah.
Sweet and thoughtful are the two words that I would use.
Yeah, she didn't have a mean bone in her body.
Mm-mm.
Pearl Cullen, Zivitz, she got married again, but Pearl Cullen flew up for my high school graduation in 1981 from Florida. When I wanted to move to Florida, her and my uncle Fred Cullen gave me a place to stay at the beginning. And then when I got a place to stay, Pearl to me, I had a lot of good memories. The year before I came down there, or I should preface this by saying that I went on a trip to Daytona Beach and divided the trip up into two stages. The Daytona, then I went to South Florida. And Pearl had an issue with an automobile, which wasn't getting service. So, she went on it for months and months and months. So we were sitting in a restaurant and bad-mouthing the daylights out of this dealership, and talked to me about it. And as it turns out, the owner of the dealership was sitting in that same restaurant with us. And I went ahead and told this guy, what the heck is wrong with you people? Well, let me tell you, she said, after months of fighting this guy, I was her good luck charm, and she got it fixed out. But I also had a chance to take Pearl to Allen Park Gym in North Miami, and who was training there? Muhammad Ali, and I got to meet my late friend Angelo Dundee. Pearl and I used to hang out all together. You wouldn't know by the difference in our age. I was like her adopted son. I used to call her the blonde bomber, and you know what? I taught her that thing called the eye of the tiger, and she ate it up alive. So the amount of memories that Pearl and I have are just too many to talk about. But her and my grandmother were like sisters, and my grandmother made sure my grandson is taken care of, and Pearl looked out for me when I was here. And of course, Pearl is related to your adopted sister Cindy Cullen, and that relationship that I've always shared with Cindy. And of course her late brother Steve was good, and of course Cindy's husband Peter was good. So Pearl was just a wonderful person, and I used to spend a lot of great Thanksgivings with her, let alone a lot of great times with her. And I got to tell you, my grandma Sophie and Pearl Cullen had something else in common. We had a lot of good Thanksgiving dinners over at the Cracker Barrel. But last but not least, Betty Ebling, your mom. I feel I got hosed out of this thing. Number one, when I ended up with diabetes and I had a couple of strokes along the way. I was at JFK Hospital. Your mom used to call me 4 times a day. Another great story was when you took my keys to work and I didn't have any place to go for a job interview. I asked your mom if I could borrow her vehicle.
They were visiting us at the time.
Right. So she let me borrow the truck. It was pretty neat. But your mom to me was just unreal. The relationship we had was, I'll never forget every time I took a long drive. And I really guess I kind of got to her a little bit because, she didn't realize that there would be a world warrior like me that got stronger as the drive wore on. And
most of us, we get kind of tired 4, 5 hours into it. 6 hours, we're pushing it, sometimes 7, maybe. But you don't get tired. You get stronger. You're crazy on the road.
Yeah, my grandmother didn't like that part. I couldn't stay in touch with her on the road because I didn't want her to get sick. But your mom was a different situation. But your mom, when I was striving for that 215 license, I ended up passing it the first time with a 70%. I ended up passing it the 4 days after she passed away, and you know what? I was even more determined to get that license then, and your mom supported what I was doing all along. But what can I tell you? That woman, there's a picture of her right in my office that I look at every time I need some moral support or spiritual support, and she was great. And we went out to eat sometimes with your mom and dad when you were busy out in Wisconsin for Todd Marie's wedding. They used to take me for custard. I didn't know about custard till I married into your family. Now I wish I probably didn't know about it.
Oh, come on. It's a little slice of heaven on earth.
Yeah, I know. Except when the scale tells you the sun doesn't shine in Alaska, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's a good thing. And of course, I was glad that your mom had a chance to meet Cindy and Pete as well. So your mom to me would check up on me all the time when I was in the hospital, and we developed a really great relationship. I didn't have a lot of time with her, but boy, I'll tell you what, she certainly will go down as one of the greatest people in my lifetime. I've met a lot of them. So, Mom, rest in peace. And I guess the one thing I could pay tribute to her is when the time comes that our expiration is there. I could be interred in Michigan, but I wanted to be close to your mom in the Wisconsin area over at Wisconsin Memorial Garden. So if that doesn't speak volumes with you, Mom, I don't know what the heck does. And for me, the loss of words takes a whole lot. No, we don't need the duct tape, Fred Ebling. Okay, being a loss of words does happen once me. Once in a while. Betty Ebling, I love you. Rest in peace. Your daughter's doing a heck of a job. Turning into a photographer and a broadcaster, etc. And one thing I should tell you, Betty, okay, the reason why the South Florida Tribune has over 7,000 page views is because your daughter's done one whale of a job.
Well, thank you. So now is it my turn?
Yeah, it is.
You sure you're going to give up the microphone for a little bit?
Well, if I interrupt you, what's new? But no, take it away.
No, that's my job normally.
All right, well, this isn't a normal broadcast. This is above normal, way special for that.
Okay. So, like you, I have people in my life that have served, or kind of served as mother figures to me. One of my mom's best friends, her name is Barb Youssef. They're actually godparents to my sister, but they've been lifelong family friends, and I hold them dear and near to my heart. There isn't anything that they wouldn't do for us, and I know that. I can't let a broadcast go, and we're talking about moms, without talking about your mom.
Okay.
When I met your mom, one of the first things she said is, when she found out that we were going to get married, I'm not going to be your mother-in-law. That's not my title. I'm like, what? But that's what everybody calls somebody that marries into the family, and you're the mom of, my intended husband. That everybody calls it mother-in-law. She's like, no, I'm not a mother-in-law. I'm a mother of love. She wants to be loved just like everybody else. And you know what? She deserves that. She reaches out. We might not have always seen eye to eye. Let's face it, I'll never forget when we told him Scott and I are going to be married in Wisconsin on January 1st. They're like, what? Are you crazy? Wisconsin, it's cold. It's freezing cold. It could be snowing. You could have a blizzard and have no guest. Are you sure? And then we told them, not only are we going to be married in Wisconsin on January 1st, we're going to a sports stadium and being married inside a restaurant in the sports stadium. Huh? That's unheard of. How in the world are you going to pull that off? Are you sure you don't want to change the date? No, we're sure. My husband, Scott, wants to make sure that I never have to work on my anniversary. There are very few calendar dates in the year that can be accomplished. July 4th and January 1 and Christmas Day, December 25th. Those are the 3 dates that never change in the calendar year. You always have the holidays for those. Well, we didn't want to wait till the next July 4th. And we decided we didn't want to share Christmas Day for our anniversary. So we decided January 1. Let's start the new year with a new perspective, a new marriage. So we're going to do it. And we're going to do it inside of Fridays, inside Miller Park at Milwaukee, Wisconsin on January 1st. Lo and behold, it was 40 degrees, sunshine, no snow. They closed the whole restaurant down for us, so we had the whole entire place, and they didn't charge us for that. Our teams played each other that evening so they could be at our reception on all the TVs inside. We had lights lighting it up and candles. Your mom was blown away by what we did that day.
Well, my parents thought when you're getting married in a ballpark, okay, they thought we're going to get married outside. So, with all due respect, okay, they got to understand what a real updated ballpark is, not the typical outdoor stadium without a restaurant. So, I have to admit that they were kind of intrigued by that. More importantly, what was so interesting about that day was when the officiant went out and said, what if the Lions lose to the Packers? Oh, we're used to it, so it don't make any difference. And the laugh that all these people had was unreal. So when you put things in perspective, and I guess another thing we should point out is that when the Lions played on your birthday the year after, shortly after your mom, I think, died, you spent time at Ford Field and watched the Packers win a miraculous game at Ford Field. And as much as I was rooting for the Detroit Lions, if they were going to lose to the Packers on your birthday on a Hail Mary throw by Aaron Rodgers, which I had a feeling something could go bad when there was an untimed down. And I was telling George Eichhorn downstairs, I have a bad feeling something's going to happen. And lo and behold, Aaron Rodgers got the miraculous win on your birthday. It was unreal. I think your mom was smiling somewhere down in heaven that the Packers got the win, the Lions got the loss. Candy got her birthday present in the most unusual, fateful manner. Too surreal.
Okay, back to me, my memories, my talking about your mom.
Okay.
My next memory was we were on our honeymoon in Hawaii with the family. Your niece and nephew were getting married. And as you recall, there was a shortage of cars that people could rent in Hawaii. So, my husband, Scott, I have to give you kudos because I at first was reluctant, but you're like, let's rent a car. Let's rent a car for the time we're here. And I'm like, oh, no, we don't need it. We're here with everybody else. He's like, no, let's get it. Luckily, we got it because they ran out of cars. We took your parents out on a little excursion one day. And I think we went out to eat, and then we went shopping. And your mom said, and I'll never forget this, let's go in this shop. Let's look for something special for you that I can buy you on your honeymoon. And I came away with a necklace. And a couple of items too, but the necklace is what I hold near and dear to me. So she is a rock. Like, I mean, I get me and her haven't always seen eye to eye, especially in the beginning. But we've come to really appreciate each other and love each other. And her tenacity and her will to live is like none other. And I will always, always be grateful to her because if she hadn't had you, I wouldn't be married right now.
You know, I think it's funny about the rental car thing. Everybody thought I was completely crazy for doing it, even them to some extent. But when it was all said and done, they were sitting in the back seat and I was driving. I outsmarted everybody because how much time can you spend in a hotel overpaying for everything? I ain't staying around in this hotel. There's a lot of sightseeing to be done around this town. And my folks, you know what? I enjoyed carting them around. I mean, after all, you're talking about a driver. Another lifetime ago, I probably could have gotten a CDL, as your brother Steve probably thought. You ever thought about that one time? But I was thinking 3 steps ahead of him. Where did I learn that? From Larry Bird. And when my folks were sitting in the vehicle and they were all scrambling to find cars, I had mine, so we didn't have any problem there. It was good to be able to cart my folks around Hawaii. I thought it was pretty good. But, you know, it's just, and I think one of the things I loved about my folks as well is when we would go out to Chinese restaurants and my father says, you know, Taney, do you want to join this conversation with Scott and I? Charlotte and I don't have anything in common. You know, Mike Morgenroth with that old lighthearted sense of humor. And you were very polite. Said, "No, I'll talk to her a little bit." But my father said, "You're welcome to join us anytime you wanted." But my folks have had an unbelievable relationship for the better part of 60 years. I'm glad I've been around for 57 and a half, and that you came later in the game. But you know what? That's pretty neat stuff. Here we are in Hawaii, and I'm carting them around, and I thought all of those clowns.
That's true. That's true.
They were all scrambling to rent cars, but somebody had to start this thing.
I agree. Any other thoughts, Scott?
No, I think it's been a wonderful opportunity to reflect on all the mother figures. And as I mentioned in my sports exchange earlier with Steve Ballesteri, it's really neat that we were able to pay tribute to not only them, but once again, I want to give a personal shout out as well to Jill Shepik. I know she battled courageously with Alzheimer's disease, but rest in peace, Jill Shepik. My hearts and prayers go out to Todd Shepik, Marie Shepik, Dawn Shepik, her husband, and the rest of the family as well. Because you know what, Jill, the time I enjoyed spending with you was just unreal, and I'm glad that you had an opportunity to be at our wedding as well, and that we spent a lot of quality time. So, Candy, you know what? You can go ahead and host a broadcast all day long. I really enjoyed having you do this because I know it was something that meant a lot to you, but it means a lot to me too, because you were able to bring out a lot of unbelievable memories that I've had with those five key people. And for all you folks that have mothers out there, mother figures, you should be paying tribute to them as often as you possibly can, because I think that that's something that when they're gone, at least we have the memories to fall back on.
So one of the things that I was going to kind of recap and state for everybody, or kind of plead with everybody, is none of us know when our last day on earth is, or anybody else's last day on earth. Don't not ask the questions now that you want to know, because you're never promised tomorrow. Your mom's never promised tomorrow. And if you want to know things, ask them now. Don't wait. If you have things on your bucket list that you want to do with your mom, don't wait. Tell her you love her. Give her a hug. Because, again, none of us are promised tomorrow.
Well, let me tell you, every time I talk to my parents nowadays, there might be certain nuggets I get out of these people that I never even knew. So why don't you go out there, and if there's another question or two about the good old days, you better get them while you can, because there'll be a time where they're not talking to 6 feet below or 15 feet higher or wherever they're at.
So, Scott, I want you to tell us where they can find more broadcasts like this. And once you're done, I'm going to read one poem to end the program tonight.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Well, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Tribune South. That's at Tribune South. If you can go ahead and let everybody know where they can find the broadcast.
SouthFloridaTribune.com, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can catch any of our podcasts on any place you catch podcasts. iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google, Apple, Podcast Addict, any of those. You're listening to No Limits, but we also have other broadcasts, South Florida Tribune, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, Fantasy Football with Ryan Skolerud and Scott Morganroth. We also have Sports Exchange, and we have The Real and the Rare. I think that covers most of them, but you can find all of them again on www.southfloridatribune.com. We get all kinds of content, and we get all these broadcasts. Listen, read. If you want to contact us via email, it's southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
Right, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at South Florida Tribune. And one thing I'm taking a lot of pride in is the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. We'll be doing more and more of these broadcasts visually, so you'll be able to access those at the South Florida Tribune by YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed already, feel free to do so. I can tell you we have a lot of great things in the works there. And you know what? I love the fact that we're building this thing like we are, and I see a lot of great days ahead of us. And you know what, Candy? I can't thank you enough for the amount of time that you put in, not only with your regular job, but what we've done to try to build this bad boy. Because without you a lot of this stuff wouldn't have developed like it has. I've done my part, but I know you've done a remarkable job, and I'm proud of everything you've done, not only with us, but the strides you've made as a photographer, and also you're developing a little niche as a broadcaster. So take it away with the poem, Candy. I'm done.
Thank you, Scott. So the name of the broadcast was a tribute to mothers. So that's what the name of this poem is. A mother is the beauty of butterflies, the freshness of flowers, the softness of petals, the gentleness of a summer breeze. A mother is the strength of youth, the wisdom of the old, the courage of the soldier, the depth of the oceans. A mother is the endurance of rocks, the clarity of crystals, the colors of a rainbow, and the warmth of the sun. For Scott, Motor City Mad Mouth, this is Candy, and we are signing off from No Limits. Enjoy, everybody.